Welcome back to Good Morning Cleveland. This week, there is a new babies book coming out all about the science behind meteorology. This morning, I am joined by Ruth Spiro. She's the author of Baby Loves Meteorology. To learn all about it, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I see you have the book in your hand. We have a couple copies as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So how did you get started in writing children's books all about science? You explain it in a really easy way for babies, but you don't shy away from the scientific concepts at all. How do you kind of toe that line?
So I always start, there are quite a few books in this series about different science topics. And what I do is I start with something that a small child would be familiar with, right? Going to the park and watching a bird fly, or dropping Cheerios while they're sitting in the high chair and watching them fall, or deciding what to wear when we get dressed in the morning. And then in the book, they're very brief, it's a board book. I explain a very small amount of the science that's behind that, because when you ground something in something that's familiar, then it makes it easier to understand.
Absolutely. And I mean, and I read it. I so appreciate you sending me the book earlier so that I could read it. And as you mentioned, you started with the simpler complex or issues like what does baby wear? But then also you see here heat energy from the sun makes water evaporate. So certainly not shying away. I mean, you even get into nimbostratus clouds. And I was just so impressed with the expertise associated with it. What made you decide to even get into, because this is one of a series, as you mentioned, to even start to write these books for babies?
Well, it's a it's a long story, but I'll try to be brief. But for a while, parents were bypassing picture books in favor of what they thought was more sophisticated reading material and trying to, teach their babies about higher level things. And I realized that what they were really looking for was still a simple book, but with more elevated content, right? With a little bit more information. And so I started writing about, like I mentioned before, about going to the park and watching a bird fly. And what's the science behind that? And, we all know those like 2-year-olds that can name all of the dinosaurs, right?
Yes.
So if they can say the word diplodocus, then they can say molecule, right? They can understand these things. And it's just about giving them as much vocabulary as we can and sharing that. And for me, it's not necessarily about teaching young children about science. It's more about encouraging that sense of wonder and curiosity and showing them that, when we drop a ball and it falls to the ground, there's science behind it. It's about physics. And the same thing with meteorology. There's a reason why when we go outside, sometimes it's raining and sometimes it's sunny, and why rain falls from clouds and how the rain develops inside the cloud. So it's just introducing them to the fact that science is all around us and
Yes.
things that we see and do every day.
Absolutely. And there are several other books in your series that are already available. Some of the ones that stood out to me, thermodynamics, which I didn't tap into until college, gravity, as you mentioned, the senses. It comes out March 4th, correct?
Yes, it comes out this week.
And where can people purchase not only this book when it comes out, but all of your other Baby Love Science series?
Anywhere books are sold, for anywhere that you like to buy books. I like to support independent booksellers when I can, but whatever's convenient, anywhere. And if they don't, there are a lot of titles in the series, so the stores may not have all of them on the shelf, but you can always ask for it and they'll order it for you.
Oh, well, that is so awesome. I'm so impressed, and I am so excited that I have a copy of my own. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ruth, to tell us all about Baby Loves
Thank you.
Meteorology.